Lesson 7.2, Understanding Functions. Functions are used to represent relationships between two values. One of these values will be dependent upon the other. The independent value is called the independent variable, and it can only have one dependent value associated with it. So what happens is, with the independent value, that's the value that we can choose. The dependent value is the value that will be calculated because of the one that we chose. So for example, if we decide to plug in the number 2 into our function, 2 would be the independent value, and when we plug in 2, we can only get one number out, whatever that number would be. If we use x and y is usually considered to be the dependent variable and x is the independent variable, meaning we can pick any number we want for x and then we solve for y. Every x value can only have one y value associated with it. So again, if I plug in an x, I can only get one y out, so only one number can come out. The independent values make up the domain. Those are the x's. The dependent values make up the range. Those are the y's. And it can be written without two variables using what's called function notation. So instead of y, we replace y with f of x. So it's f with parentheses and then an x inside. Other letters can also be used, so f, g, h, etc. So how do we evaluate functions if we're given function notation? As I just mentioned, we can write functions in a form called function notation. So f of x is equal to 6x minus 7. We can also say that 6x minus 7 is a function of x. And we can evaluate that for various values of x. And this is similar to when we evaluated expressions. For example, I said evaluate 6x minus 7 for x equals 3, and we plugged in 3 and figured out what that expression's value was. Well, with functions, we write it differently. We say f of x is equal to 6x minus 7, find f of 3. And so the way that we'll find f of 3, is we'll take the x out and put the 3 in. Once we've plugged in 3, we multiply, and we get 18 minus 7. So we get that f of 3 is equal to 11. So let's evaluate some functions. If we have f of x is negative 11x plus 6 and g of x is 3x squared minus 10, what I do to find f of 6 is I take f of x and I replace x's with 6's. That's negative 11. So I get negative 66 plus 6, so I get negative 60. When I use g of negative 3, I have to use g of x. So you want to make sure that you're using the correct function and that your letter matches the one you're looking for. So for this one, I replace x's with negative 3's. Exponent comes first, so I have 3 times 9 minus 10, which will give me 27 minus 10, which will give me 17. So we can use any number. We could have asked for f of 7,333. It wouldn't have mattered. Doesn't matter what number is here, you just replace x with that number.